Welcome, friends. Welcome to this press conference on One Nation, One Subscription initiative. It's a groundbreaking project aimed at transforming access to educational and research content across India. We are honored here to have a panel of experts with us today to discuss the transformative potential of this initiative. So I begin with of the PSA. Welcome, ma'am. Professor Abhay Karandikar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Welcome to you, sir. Mr. P.K. Banerjee, Joint Secretary, Department of Higher Education. Welcome, sir. Professor Virendra Chauhan. Welcome, sir. And Ms. Remaya Haridasan, Scientific Officer of the PSA. Welcome. So now we begin with, I'll invite Professor Ajay Sood, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, to take over and, sir, explain us more about this initiative. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, welcome to all of you for this interactive session. I'll be very brief because Ramya Haridasan will be making a presentation on on what this ONOS has achieved. But you will all agree, I'll just start by reminding ourselves that knowledge creation and knowledge dissemination are very important in the S&T and innovation journey of any country. Now, in this journey, the refereed journals play a crucial role as important resource knowledge material. Now, India has been subscribing to journals through different library consortia under various ministries and departments and institutions, and also subscribe to them separately. Now, this was realized about 2 years back that this leads to overlap in the subscribed resources and inefficient utilization of the funds, as well as not having a very wide reach of the journals. So, it will be shown to you what we have achieved by increasing the outlay and what ONOS will achieve. I will leave it for the presentation. Now, I just thought that I'll mention that One Nation, One Subscription is one of the instruments of the government to make sure that we have expansion of knowledge access to large stakeholders. In phase one, it will be shown that we are covering all the central and state government universities and colleges, enhancing the scope much more than what it was before. And this is also aligned with other national initiatives like Anusandhan National Research Foundation and AI mission and so on, all the knowledge-based missions. And the reason for calling this press conference, we thought, was to explain this because there have been some misunderstanding in some quarters of what ONOS is about, and it's whether it is in conflict with other ways of disseminating knowledge. We will discuss that so that there is a clarity on this very transformative initiative in this science and technology, in this knowledge ecosystem. So, and we have with us from DST, Department of Science and Technology, Secretary Professor Abhay Karandikar, who will be here to answer questions. We have Dr. P.K. Banerjee from Department of Education. The Honorable Secretary couldn't be here due to other engagements. And we have Professor Virendra Chauhan, who played a very pivotal role in making all this possible by having a large number of discussions, interactions with the publishers. It took a lot of energy over the last 2 years. So we will have the benefit of his insights in this. And as you know, he and Professor Karandikar have been in this active science and technology ecosystem for the last 40, 50 years. It does not reveal their age, but it only reflects their experience. So, and then we have, of course, Ramya Haridasan from our office, who is leading this effort from our office, and she will explain to you what ONOS stands for, what does it achieve, and how does it align with other initiatives of knowledge dissemination. So without taking too much time, I think we will have the presentation first, and then we will have, we have provided a lot of time for interaction where all the people on the stage, I didn't introduce Dr. Pravinder Mani, Scientific Secretary in the Office of PSA, again, playing a very pivotal role in all this effort in the last 2 years. So all of us will try to answer any clarifications needed or any misunderstanding on different aspects of knowledge dissemination. So over to you. What is the...
Now, I would request Mr. Remaya to make a PPT on this issue, and then after the PPT, we'll open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And warm greetings to all the dignitaries on the dais and all the media personnel who are here with us today to hear about this transformative national initiative called the One Nation, One Subscription Scheme. So the need for ONOS stems from the fact that for an innovative society which has aspirations for deep tech advancements, access to knowledge is a key requirement. This is essential to ensure two things. First of all, that we avoid rediscovering the wheel. And the second one is that we generate and share whatever new knowledge is being created. And hence, the need for an initiative like One Nation, One Subscription was felt. To talk about this initiative, it is a new central sector scheme which was recently approved by the cabinet for a budget of about rupees 3,000 crores for 3 years. That is the calendar years 2025, 2026, and 2027. The main aim of the scheme is to form a national consortia which will provide for electronic journal subscriptions for the country. So there are two main components to this scheme. So ONOS will be catering to the subscription journals, as well as it will be providing for certain aspects of the open access journals. For the subscription journals, there will be centrally negotiated and centrally funded national subscriptions for electronic journals from prominent publishers of STEM and social sciences streams. And access will be provided to every individual in the country who needs it. In terms of the open access journals, the article processing charges which are paid by the authors to publish as open access, the ONOS scheme caters to it by providing for a central fund of rupees 150 crores per year for supporting Indian authors to pay APCs for selected good quality open access journals. Apart from that, discounts on APCs for Indian authors have also been negotiated as part of the negotiations for ONOS, and to the extent possible, we have been able to try to achieve it. Moving on to the benefits of the phase 1 of ONOS. So as PSA sir had mentioned, the phase 1 will focus on covering all the government, academic and R&D institutions in the country. So when I am talking about the benefits here, I would like to compare it in the scenario where ONOS is not there, which is the current scenario. And in this current scenario, the various institutions are getting subscriptions through the 10 library consortia in the country today, which are under various ministries and departments. And apart from that, institutions are also separately subscribing. So this is the current scenario of subscriptions. And when we move on to the next column, which says after ONOS, where this national subscription will come into place, that will be the scenario which I'll be talking about in the second column. So the 4-pronged benefits which ONOS provides are firstly increase in the number of users, that is the individual students, faculty and researchers who will stand to benefit from this initiative, which will increase from the current numbers of 57 lakh users under the current consortia and individual subscriptions. This will increase to around 177 lakh, 178 lakhs, which is about 1.8 crores. And this is an increase by over 200% in the number of individuals who will benefit from this initiative in terms of getting access to world-class research journals. In terms of the number of beneficiary institutions, the current institutions which are benefiting from the current consortia model is about 2,360 government institutions is what we are talking about. And this will increase to 6,380. And this is an increase by by about 170%. And just to give an idea about what these institutions are, what are these 6,300 institutions which will now stand to benefit, we have the institutions of national importance, around 172. The universities, the state public universities, the inter-university centers under the UGC, deemed universities, this will be about 557. Colleges, including both under the ones under UGC as well as AICTE, will be about 4,864. There are some other institutions of the Ministry of Education like research councils, etc., another 114. And institutions under other ministries and departments, this includes all the R&D. Just to give a graphic, the current number of current universities getting benefit was 293. Colleges which were getting subscription benefits was just about 10. And the institutes under the other ministries, that is the predominantly R&D institutions which are coming under these ministries, is about 386, which is increasing to 673 with ONOS. And this has a substantial number of the medical colleges also. Medical colleges are being covered under various categories under colleges as well as institutions under the other ministries as well. Now, moving on to the increase in the actual journals which will be accessible. So, considering the 30 publishers who have been selected, selected to become part of ONOS, we were getting access to about 8,000 of their journals under the current subscription models. And with ONOS, we have negotiated for the access to the full collection of journals which is published by each publisher. So that accounts to about 13,400 journals, which is an increase by 66% of the actual resources which will be available after ONOS. And something like this is so unprecedented in itself, the benefits of which will be clearer in the last point, where the access to journals will also be expanded in another dimension, that is in terms of the discipline-specific access, which was currently there as part of the current subscription of the consortia model, will no longer be there. In the sense, all users will be getting benefits of all journals, and this will promote interdisciplinary research in the country, because now no user is limited by the discipline-specific journals which their consortia has been subscribing to. So this is an added benefit that we are receiving through ONOS. And considering these benefits, which we just heard, it is very clear that ONOS is a very vital instrument for achieving the goals of other national initiatives like the Ansandhan National Research Foundation and the National Education Policy. The government announced the NEP 2020 and the ANRF with the aim to improve the research and education ecosystem in the country. The NEP 2020 talks about moving towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education, and the ANRF has its goals to promote research at universities and colleges where research capacity is at a nascent stage. So from the previous slide, it is very clear how ONOS is going to help both these initiatives in achieving their goals by enhancing the access to knowledge resources and by taking this access to the last mile. So this is the list of the 30 publishers who have agreed to ONOS. As you can see here, there are very prominent names, prominent publishers in their fields, in various fields and disciplines of STEM, management, social sciences, and humanities. And the full collection from each of these publishers will be available through ONOS. Talking about the implementation of ONOS, the phase 1 is targeted to commence from the 1st of January 2025. And in the first phase, we are merging all the library consortia and bringing in more institutions who could not get access earlier. In the second phase, the access will be expanded to the private institutions, higher education institutions in the country. And in the phase 3, universal access is being aimed at. That is, the access will be provided to all citizens, all individuals in the country through designated access points at public libraries. And also, ONOS has made sure that all streams of STEM, management, social sciences, and humanities have been covered. And in our implementation, which is going to start very soon, all care is being taken to ensure that smooth transition to ONOS will be done, and no research activities will be affected for want of key resource material. So this was, so till now I was highlighting the salient aspects of ONOS, which need salient points of ONOS, which have been told to everyone. But now ONOS, now the flow of the presentation will be such that I will be highlighting how ONOS aligns with the global efforts for open access which are taking place. So much of the criticism or the issues which had emerged was saying that this effort is probably not in line with the aims of the other open access efforts, but that is something which we would like to touch upon here. So the two key aspects of knowledge dissemination are, first, the reading aspect and the publishing aspect. So in terms of the reading aspect, here the knowledge is made available to the readers. And this is being done predominantly through a subscription model, where this subscription model has been continuing since the print era. But the knowledge, the format of the knowledge, it changed from the print version to the digital version, but the payment models did not change. So what continues to happen is that there are still massive outlays, that is about 1,000 crore is being spent annually on subscriptions, but the access is still limited. I mean, there are so many other users who we can provide the benefit to. So ONOS aims at expanding this access under a subscription model, and this has been achieved at double the cost. At double the cost, we have been able to provide access to 1.8 crore users from 57 lakh users, and this is something unprecedented. Now, coming on to the other side, which is the publishing side. Now, there another model evolved when the with the advent of the digital era. The other model which evolved was the model where the author pays to make the article open access. Now, because with the advent of the digital era, it was much easier to distribute electronic versions. And hence, authors have this option now that they can pay to make their articles open access, hence shifting the payment burden from the reader to the author. But the issue there is that the APCs charged by many of these journals is so high. That is, for nature journals, it is as high as up to 10,000 US dollars. I mean, 10,000 US dollars to publish one paper. So this is actually very high prices. And here also, ONOS has tried to provide some kind of support to the authors to afford these high APC prices. And this is being done as a pilot, and about 150 crores has been set aside for this. So we would just like to highlight here that ONOS mainly is to take care of the subscription part of the knowledge dissemination, but also some care has been taken to address the publishing side as well. And in light of this, I would also like to say that we are very well aware of the other efforts which are ongoing. that is like transformative agreements, efforts for diamond open access and green open access. And in my subsequent slides, I will highlight how all of these has been taken into consideration. But before that, just to put things into perspective, here is a slide which shows the percentage share of subscription and open access articles in 2023 by the 30 publishers who are covered under ONOS. As you can see, the gray part, which has been highlighted here as non-open access, is what is being covered under ONOS. And not just the gray, not just non-OA, but also the orange, which is hybrid. Hybrid journals are journals where it's a subscription journal in which the authors have the option to make select articles as open access. But mostly it is the journals are subscription based articles only. So if we see for the top top 4 publishers, that is Elsevier, Springer Nature, Wiley, Taylor Francis, which you can see at the bottom of the scale here, predominantly more than 60, if you count both the gray area as well as the orange part, predominantly more than 60 to 70% is still under subscription paywalls. So this is something which we wanted to highlight, that yes, there are efforts for open access, but subscription is still very much a reality in the publishing ecosystem. Another slide here which shows the share of subscription and open access articles which have been published from India over the years starting from 2018. So 2018 to 2020 was around the time that ONOS was conceived as a strategy to be taken forward. And you can see that at that point of time, up to 75% was being published by Indian authors in subscription journals. And over the years, this figure has come down, but it is still substantial at 65%. So just please keep those 2 slides in mind. And now is where we would like to bring your attention to the vision for open access transformation in India. And this is just to highlight that ONOS is part of a bigger picture, that it is part of a bigger effort, where to bring about this transformation to an open access ecosystem in India, we need to take 3 steps. The first one is a step which is attempted at expanding the current access and expanding the current access to the current system which is in place. One Nation, One Subscription was the optimum solution for this, which was devised in around 2020. Now, the other efforts which also need to take place are the enhancement and the promotion and support of the Indian journals and the repositories. Indian journals, there are about 25 Indian journals which are being published by various academies and institutions in the country. And they have been doing an excellent job of coming out with good quality research articles. Institutions like CSIR have been publishing for the past 80 years. But still, Indian authors are not publishing in these journals. So we need to take measures to encourage them to publish in our own Indian journals. Our repositories, there are about 105 repositories in our country today. But it is, the usage is not as much as it should be. So these measures need to be taken to uplift them is only when a true open access ecosystem will be achieved in the country. And finally, it's a key step which is needed to supplement the first 2 efforts is a change in the research evaluation methods. That is, we need to move to evaluation methods which are lesser dependence on journals, and also take into account the intrinsic merit of the work, and also take into account other factors which are very relevant in today's science, S&T and innovation ecosystem, such as entrepreneurship, innovation. Such aspects also need to be taken. So a new framework for research evaluation is a very underlying important step which also we need to take. So in this context, if we see the vision accounts for all of the contemporary efforts which are being taken worldwide, and ONOS is not just is not a value judgment on the subscription based model of knowledge dissemination. Rather, it is an adoption of the most practical India specific solution towards expanding knowledge access till a sustainable open access model is achieved globally. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation, and we are open to media interaction.
Thank you, Remaya. That was very exhaustive description. And now we open the floor for the questions. Yes. 3, please.
From Hindustan Times, and my question basically is that in 2023 the estimates were that half the cost would be involved in ONOS, and there were also talks of 70 journals in the beginning, and now after negotiations we see that has dropped down to 30 like you presented. So what happened behind that? Because there is not a lot of transparency we see in terms of costs that are being given to these big monopoly like publishers, right? Where we see the West shifting away from these publishers, MIT, institutes like MIT shifting away from these publishers. And my second question is that you talked a lot about open access. I know that there is a model within ONOS about open access. But the West, they failed miserably with these large subscription-based journal models. So why are we not, and especially with the talk of Atmanirbharta, why are we not shifting towards that and instead relying on these sort of monopoly-like publishers?
I think let us first understand that this is not one versus other. So these journals are already subscribed by some institutions, which includes like institutions where I came from, like IITs and all. Their libraries are already subscribing. Their students are already using it. Okay, all this model is doing, and the institutions, since they have limited budget, so they are very stingy in subscribing only to a limited journals in which their budget will allow. All we are doing is that we are expanding this access to our state public universities and other universities who do not have any budget to subscribe to these journals. Okay, and not only that, we are now making as a process, since it is coming now as a package. It is like, all the channels in the TV you want, whether you want to select some few channels and pay for it, or now all channels are available to all the viewers. So it is available to all the readers, particularly state public universities who earlier did not have funds, or affiliated colleges who did not have funds to subscribe to this. Now, that doesn't mean that we should not be working on our open access journals or making our Indian journal stronger. Those are parallel efforts. So I don't think this is one versus the other. This effort is in the direction which is addressing the point number 4 problem here, that currently the access is limited to only 2,500 institutions. The access is limited to only 8,000 journals, and that too discipline specific and only what colleges can afford. Now it has been made available to 6,300 all journals for all users, and central government is funding for that. Now you may want to say that in addition we should do open access. Yes, and that is also being attempted. In addition, we should promote other things. Yeah, but I mean, this is only making the access, democratizing the access, which is already being used by our elite institutions and few universities. So that's the cost was, as you mentioned that earlier, the cost for these 2,300 institutions was 3,000 crores for 3 years, which is now becoming 6,000 crores, but making it available to the increase in the number of subscribers now become from 56 lakhs to about 1.8 crores.
Can I just,
Yes. No, no, no.
No.
Before ONS, right now, per year, how much is India spending on journals?
1,000 crore
so 800
per year.
850 crores extra. I think in these discussions, something might just be lost. If you permit
It's
me,
on.
if you permit me, I'll just stress two things, and then I want to leave a lot of time for questions. Otherwise, you'll go unsatisfied. The point to be noted is that the number, see, the earlier model, whatever India had, I taught in a college, I've taught at IIT Kanpur, I've taught in Delhi University, and I've run a large institution which is largely research based. So there were efforts all this while. DGCSR is here. There were many efforts at many given time as our base of research grew. But these were all lying scattered, as you heard from Remya. So here is in a very simple way, first is the consolidation of what we are doing at different places. So we managed to bring all consortia in this. But to my mind, my personal remark is to expand this to some of the very old, high quality state university like Dharwad, Baroda, Jadavpur. Now, you might say that what were they doing till today? Of course, they were accessing journals, but they were accessing a minuscule of journal. Second point I want to really put across to you, the science and social sciences have moved extremely fast. So what you would do as a chemist, let's say 30 years back, today chemists will do material science, chemists will do immunology, chemists will do everything. So there's a huge, which you often hear from us, subjects. NEP also guides us to have all institutions become multi-subject. IITs are doing management, IITs are doing very good quality social sciences. So if you picked a small bunch from a large publisher, then a small bunch, then another small bunch, then you have a whole lot of bunches. Here we are providing the whole garden. So if you are in a medical college and wants to access what is happening in, let's say, HIV vaccine today, you should be able to access that immediately rather than somebody on your behalf subscribing. So two things to become very important. The base is enlarged to 3 times the earlier base. I dare say even 4 times the earlier base at the cost of about 850 crores. But if you just spend half a minute thinking in your mind the base expansion, I think you'll find almost everything logical. So if any specification we'll answer, but this needs to be captured. Why? When we were negotiating with publisher, the most tricky point and obsessive point from their side was, why do you want to give all journals to all your readers? And we wanted to give all journals to all readers for exactly what I said 2 minutes back to you. Because knowledge now is not in silos. So you could be a historian but want to look at what is happening in, let's say, science or vice versa. That, I think India, this model probably the first, I could be wrong in my claim, the first that India has been able to achieve. This is what I hear from my colleagues in the West.
16.
Pallav Bagla from NDTV. Namaskar, Pallav Bagla from NDTV. 2 quick questions for Professor Sood. प्रधानमंत्री तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात करते हैं, आप जर्नल सब्सक्रिप्शन बाहर से कर रहे हैं. Only in your phase 3 are we seeing any effort towards promoting Indian journals. We've spoken about this earlier. A high time we promoted Indian journals to the extent that we have a competitor to Nature and Science. And you've been at the best institution. We have the capability. I don't think we have put in enough effort. Second question, 80% of our research is funded by taxpayers like me. When it's funded by me, if America can have access to taxpayer funded research in open access, Why can't we? Or have we done that earlier?
One by one. This ONOS is not contrary to the fact that we are not promoting Indian journals. Let's first understand. Indian journals, we have about 25, which and some more medical one which we have not included. They are all supported by government, and they have increased in their visibility in the last few years by various means. First, they all become digital as the trend is, so that has increased the visibility, and because of that, many more people in India are publishing in those journals. Now, in a democracy, you cannot make a dictum that all the research done in India will be published in Indian journals, because science is global. Science, I mean, you can look at science, whether it is for application or fundamental. You can't say that I'll do science for the city of Delhi. It's not never like that. So, effort to increase the visibility of Indian journals will always be going on, and we will do all that is possible to make it happen. So that is one thing. So that is not, there is no conflict here. What was the second one? Okay. So, yeah, it was done, but not 100% successful. The repositories which are there in India, as Ramya said, we have more than 50 repositories. Actually, number is more, but the main repositories, people who are publishing in any journal are expected to deposit. Now, there is a small lacuna here, which I think is not something which is immediately answerable. Right now, the final accepted paper in a journal, which has gone through review process, many publishers do not allow that to be put in a repository. I hope it's clear. You can put the first version on repository and it is there. But the published version right now, many publishers have not allowed that because there is a copyright issue. That has to be dealt parallelly. Is an international movement, nothing to do with India alone. Many countries are facing this, and it's not that it has been done for them and not for us. No, that's not correct. And we cannot say that all articles from India should be open access, because that will again incur the cost which we have to see in the APC. Because open access does not mean free. I hope you are appreciating that. So both the channels will be there for some more time, and till maybe in the next 10 years or 15 years, everything will become open access, and then this model has to change. I hope I am clear. What part is not clear?
At the National Institute of Health, and Dr. Chauhan will bear with me, an American scientist publishes a paper in Nature and Science. It is made available there in free access, not open access, free access. In our country, 80% of the research is being funded by the taxpayer. Now, we've not had a move to make that free access. We need to, whether you publish in Nature or Science, you need to make that free access, and that will also force people to come to your Indian journals.
No, I think you want to take that, because whether, see, right? I'm not talking open access. No, free access depends on the subscription model. Please listen.
I think just a minute. What you're saying
There
is
is
that, you know,
some misunderstanding.
if a project is being funded by NIH in a US university and a US researcher publishes a journal in Nature, it is freely available to all US citizens. No, that is not correct.
Can I?
No, that is not. No, no. I know that in what way it is available will be available through ONOS. Right now, we are making that available to all the students of all the government institutions, and that is what will happen. So this will. But you say general public, like anyone sitting here, wants to look at the. No, that is not possible. That is not possible even in the US. Now, of course, you can say that whether we want to cover private institutions also, yes. I mean, and that would be the second phase where we would like to cover the private institutions. So that would mean that it will have access to all the researchers and all the students.
So, Pallav, may I just add this? There might be a little confusion in free access to all, which could be just about anyone in the country. It's slightly different. You may recall this about 3-4 years back. Gates Foundation and Wellcome Trust both had come out say that if you're funding from Wellcome Trust, then it went to as far as with the publisher that you should only publish in the journals which allow open access. This went on for 2-3 years. It hasn't subsided to, worldwide hasn't subsided, to say that NIH funded Nature paper or Nature communication paper is accessible to just about any citizen in US. Personally, I don't think that is correct. What is correct is if you're in a university or in a college system where this spreads, you can access. Through ONOS I dare say in a limited fashion, which is to 6,300 institutions. That's what we try to get. That if you are in Hindu College or Ansaj College or IIT Kanpur or Dharwad University or wherever, you would have access to what we've negotiated, every journal published by every publisher. It doesn't go beyond that yet. Of course, we all pay taxes. Some of us who don't do research or don't read journals also pay taxes. There's no doubt about it.
266, please.
The panel has clearly expressed that this system will meet the needs of today. But I want to ask about the future. As you said that it is engineered around Indian publishers as well to encourage them to publish in with Indian publishers and support Indian research. So along with One Nation, One Subscription, is there any concurrent plan to move away or move to a hybrid model after this ends? Because while this meets a lot of requirement and needs of today, it is still a high amount of money. And is there a current system to, or will it just be renewed?
See, again, Indian journals right now are all open access without APC. I think this is extremely rare, and in India it has been happening for the last
80 years.
because government takes the entire cost. I hope it's clear. All the Indian journals are available to anyone around the world, not only to libraries, not only to this, anyone. What Pallav Bagla is saying, anyone on the street can access Indian journals. It is open access.
280.
And to publish it as a free.
No, they are not encouraged. I didn't say. I said we encourage them to publish. So this is where you have to see why the researcher will be not publishing in Indian journals. You have to ask that, right? That question. That question can be answered if you look at their aspiration. They would like the research work or the whatever they have done disseminated around the world. Now that was a limitation when it was in the print media. Moment it has become digital, the circulation of Indian journals has increased manifold. First, and then they have agreements with publishers who make it even more accessible without losing any control on the quality or policies of the journal. They are still open access on their websites. I hope it's very clear. Now we need to do whatever it takes, and this was the third point which Ramya made. Whatever is the way of evaluating a scientist or academician or whatever you want, we need to see there is no bias of any sort. There is no bias on paper right now. No bias. But even if there is some unconscious bias, that has to be removed. So there is no bias right now, officially or any such thing. But this all, the effort has to go on. Now, because that is not happening as much as you want, we cannot allow our researchers to really have this knowledge base not available. So that's what ONOS is doing. So it's not an answer to the other part.
So Jacob from the Hindu, I have a I have Jacob from I have a kind of practical application question, to this. Now, many of our elite institutions or good colleges, which anyway are able to access, whose researchers are able to access this, these journals, they're able to do so because they have good other infrastructural facilities also. They have good libraries, they have methods. But this new set of colleges across the country, I'm guessing that one of the reasons that they couldn't access all of this in the first place was, poor, access facilities in terms of infrastructure, in terms of...
No.
Budget.
Wrong.
So,
Wrong. They were not even allowed to access. There is no question of poor access.
that must have been the cost. The cost would have been prohibitive for them to do that.
They
right?
were just deprived. That's the single word. They didn't have
Deprived
the
funds
funds.
in college. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to understand is a student, let's say in a small college who will now be able to access it. How will he be able to do it? I mean,
On
would
the
he have to go
smartphone.
to his library
On
and
the
do
smart-
it? Can he get it
No,
on his
I think
phone? straight
I'll
away?
give you a quick answer. Even on smartphone you can do.
No, there will be a register. So this access will be available through. So just to answer your practical problem, will through InfliBNet, and there will be a portal where each registered institutions which are registered, they will have an ID there, and the student who is a registered students of that institutions will therefore have an access through that institution's ID through this portal, and then the student will be able to therefore access either on laptop or phone or whatever device that the student wants to use. So therefore, all the students who are registered students of that particular institutions, which is a member, will be able to do. Currently, the similar way the access is available to, let us say, IITs or universities which are subscribing. It is in the same way. It is exactly done in the same way. It is just that currently, what is happening is that an institution, let's say IIT Delhi, is subscribing a set of journals. So the access to those students are available only to those journals. If the student tries to access some other unsubscribed journal, he or she will get a message by saying that this journal is not subscribed by your institution. So that is how it will happen. Now, similar access will be available through this InfliBNet.
And just a follow-up question, will colleges have to pay some kind of subscription fee, which is anyway integrated into there, or it's just direct default access from now on, right?
No. It is a default. It is a default access. No, that is what we are doing. It is the central government is now paying the 6,000 crores, and the benefits is accruing to the state public universities, which are not grants, which do not receive grants from the Department of Higher Education. They are the state public universities. The institutions or consortiums which were anyway being funded by the Department of Higher Education, so like IITs or institutions like which were funded by DST and all. So that we will get now, that money will get pooled into this. So as a result, 1000 crore was anyway spent by the Department of Higher Education for IITs or central universities, or by, so that will money anyway is there. In addition, therefore, almost double the amount, 3000 crore ka 6000 crore it has happened, is being made available by the Ministry of Finance specifically, which will now benefit the institutions which were not covered hitherto.
79.
I mean, about the modality, how it will be done is, InflibNet is a inter-university center under the UGC. So InflibNet has a hardware and software capability to conduct this particular thing, and InflibNet is actually now doing for about say 2000 institutions. So that facility is a tested facility. Any new institution, particularly say the state government colleges and universities who want to get added, they will simply provide some specific information to InflibNet, like what is their fixed IP address, and with that information they first get registered, and then for their students again there are two types. One is, if a institution is having a Wi-Fi network, I mean in very plain terms, so against that fixed IP address, what happens, the campus at night, at home also, so there the student will be having a access through his user ID password authenticated by the institution, and definitely that is called off-campus access. So that off-campus access is also provided. For that, software is available at InflibNet. Through that through that the students will be able, I mean student means students, teachers, faculty, the users who are authenticated by the university. So both the things will run together.
Thank you, ma'am.
And money wise, I mean, I think Sir has already told that whatever the different central government institutions were paying, like the Ministry of Science and Technology, CSIR, then ISRO, Department of Higher Education, plus the big institutions like the IITs and central universities, all of them we are pulling together. But for the state government institutions, whatever they were paying, now they need not pay. Actually, for them it becomes absolutely free access, because central government is paying for the entire country, for all government institutions.
So my name is Dr. Prashant Mishra. I am from the British Medical Journal Publishing Group. Sir, I have 3 questions to the panel. How would you determine the success of ONOS? How that would be measured? And does government has any key performance indicators which could help assess the impact on the academic and research community? That's number 1. Number 2 is, given the investment in UNOS, what strategies are in place to ensure sustainability of this policy initiative beyond the initial funding period of 3 years? So that's the second question. And the third and the last question is, how does UNOS affect the budget allocation for individual institutions? To be more precise, individual libraries, they've been subscribing to a lot of resources. Journals would be taken care of. There are other resources as well. Could be books, could be databases, could be other research material. Will these libraries still have the budget to go for
There is no, I mean, it will only look at the journal expenses, but books, any other thing, database or standards, all those things, they will continue to be funded by the individual institutions. Second one was, what happens after 3 years? Now, we have to see how does it progress. But one thing is in our note that after 3 years, we would like to expand the scope of this to include private institutions in an arrangement which is beneficial to everyone. So that will be, at that time, there will be fresh negotiations before that, and we will have to see how it goes. First one is metrics. Now, metrics for success can be many. One immediate thing would be, which InflibNet will also be monitoring, what is the usage pattern of these journals, because it can be done now. You can quantify all this, and all the efforts will be made to make sure that this information is available to everyone. It's not that, but thanks to various media and other efforts, people are aware that this has been made available, and there we hope that information gap will not be the reason for not usage. So it will pick up, I hope, fast and more and more with time. And if we can say what is the research output after 3 years as compared to before ONOS was implemented, that would be one good metric for us. We will also see how much interdisciplinarity has come around in the publications in the last 3 years. That could be another one. So we have to evolve all that based on what we are expecting to achieve in this. So all these things are there in our discussions, internal one, and we hope that we will be able to quantify the impact after 3 years.
122.
Sir, Soumya Pillai from the print. Ms. Ramya's presentation said that this policy is going to be implemented in 3 phases. Can we have some deadlines where, have we set timelines where, when would one phase be completed, and ultimately where we are saying that by phase 3 we aim to have open access for all? By when do we aim to achieve that? That's one question. My second question is that, again, in the introduction, you said that ONOS will be parallelly implemented with ANRF and other schemes. So in ANRF, there are tier 2, tier 3 institutes which, like Jacob also mentioned, have certain infrastructural limitations which we are aiming to address through ANRF. So what is that hurdle going to be, and how do we aim to solve that?
So let me see the second part is in ANRF already there is a program called PAIR. I think Dr. Karandikar can say more if you are interested, which is looking at how to enhance the research capabilities of tier 2, tier 3. This may not be the right way wording tier 2, but institutes which are doing less in research, let's call it that way. Now this resource will definitely helpful. There is no question. So ANRF efforts are again in addition to whatever we are doing. It's not like this is at conflict or any such thing. All these are needed to enhance the research capabilities around the country in colleges, universities, institutions. So that is one thing. Now timeline on phase 2, we have already mentioned, Dr. Ramya has mentioned, after 3 years, we will see what it will take to include private institutions in this fold. In what model? Public-private partnership, in what model? That has to be seen only after 3 years. But effort will start earlier than that because it takes about a year before you can finalize. After that, again, we'll have to see 3-year period, experience of the larger number. No, the negotiations are done. It is done for a period. This time, we have been able to negotiate for 3 years. Correct? So this is what we have to see after phase 1, how it evolves. What is our experience? Please trust me, this experience is not there before in any country. India is the first country where this has been launched. So we have to learn from this and then see phase 2. And depending on that, then we will be ready for phase 3. Exact timeline may not be that easy, but phase 2 timeline is clear. We will see after the phase 1 is getting completed. Anything else I think was unanswered?
152.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Abhijit from the Economic Times. So I want to ask that although you are promoting open access, but it is also an intellectual property. So how will you ensure that it is secured while being
Sorry?
enlarged
again.
to other?
Oh, nahin,
How
what
will
is
it be
Beticum?
secured? Since it's an intellectual property, so all despite providing that open access to students, it has to be ensured that it is not being non-ethically used or misused from that aspect.
Sorry, I don't know.
That just, if I may say that, please don't mind it, but that's not correct or not relevant.
Yeah.
Because once you publish your work, it is out in the public.
So there is no
There-
question of
There's no
misuse.
question of IPR here.
Is that what your question is? Sorry,
that what-
question is not clear. If you can.
So I'm asking that it's an intellectual property since you are expanding it to other tier 2, tier 3
Okay,
institutions.
fine.
So how will you ensure that it is secured and being used by only students and not by other people?
No,
Because
I
the
think,
publishers
no.
are
So let me just
they have to
understand.
bear the cost for publishing these journals. Undertaking these journals also take some cost. They're publishing they have been publishing this in US. It requires some cost. The NIH funds that. So how will you ensure that?
No, okay, I
No,
think.
I think let me just answer this. So if your question is that in order to make sure that this access is available to the registered students of that academic institutions, I think Mr. Banerjee already outlined that it will be through the user ID and the access, and also the public IP of the institution, and through the Inflibinet portal. So therefore, this access is available to these 6,000 plus institutions which are part of this network. And it is already, and if you mean to say that what is published, so it is already published. So therefore, in that sense, it is not protected like a patent or an intellectual property, if that is the question. So what is already published, it is a free knowledge in that sense, and it can be read and freely used by anyone. But if you have done some research and if you want to protect it and not publish it, then that option is available to the researcher for protecting it through patents. So that is a different route altogether.
68.
Ma'am, one more question, last question.
Just we'll take it again. We'll let
Yeah, I think they have been. Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Bhumika from Medical Dialogues. So my question is that apart from journals, we also have resources like ebooks and other databases. So are we expecting ONOS in future?
In phase 1, this is not covered, but as we said, as we learn from this, we will take it up later.
121.
But I think I have to clear this confusion. And I think although Professor Sood has mentioned, this does not restrict institutions, universities, colleges to subscribe to other journals, other books, databases, whatever they want to do, open access, pay APC charges to their researchers. They can do all. The government is not saying that, it is restricting. If IIT, if they want to pay APC charges to their researchers, if IISc wants to pay APC charges to their researchers, if they want to promote open access, they can all do this. Only these 30 publishers' journals, the government will not give money to, let us say, IISc or IIT or Central University, because now that money is pooled here and it is coming through that. Apart from that, it is also being made available to state public universities. So this is not restricting any university's freedom to do whatever they want, except that now this will be available through this. So that way, I think this should be really understood.
Let me just add this, that you keep hearing number 30. We were negotiating with many more. These 30s cover, and there are some which did not agree to the negotiation. So that doesn't mean their business in India or through university or otherwise will stop. In fact, that was a choice. And that's why it actually didn't take 1 year. It took us more than almost 2 years to come to the stage that we've come to. So nothing else is off the table. what we are saying, but let me just say this to you, 30, and Pallav and others, gentlemen from Hindu asked a question. It's very clear. This covers by and large 95% of all social sciences. I insist on social sciences because we have publishers like Francis and Taylor, Sage, which publish hugely in social sciences. And you asked, I'm just diverting, the gentleman from Hindu had asked this question. Those well-oiled, well-heeled institutions already had access, then what are we doing now? We don't know the untapped potential. I take an example from cricket, if I may. I mean, suddenly we find there are huge talent in Srinagar, in Jharkhand, everywhere in cricket, because you made grounds accessible, coaches accessible. This is something which hopefully we are right in our thinking. Now, once you make the knowledge accessible, what will happen after that, we will see. But you were beginning to say that, oh, but they may not have any infrastructure to do research after reading a paper. What's the point? Also the point, I thought I'll just cover it right now, Indian research. If I'm working on tuberculosis or malaria, or there is nothing Indian about it, research is research. You publish, that's another matter, you publish it in journal or not. So I would simply say this 30 publisher cover more than 95% of all published work in journals. So in that sense, a very big step. Somebody wants to buy, there's a couple of them who did not, Royal Society did not agree to this for their reason. Optical Society did not agree. Those journals, of course, will be bought or taken over or subscribed by the institutions. As repeatedly has been said, every.
Yeah, Dr. Sood.
I mean, we do not have any exact figure. What we can say is that in 2022, Inflibnet attempted to get some figure. We got something in the neighborhood of about 100 crores, but that is not exhaustive. So it only a few universities they responded, and those figures were available. So I mean, that way we don't. I mean, that exact. I mean, offhand I cannot remember that, but the amount which we got was in the neighborhood of
What is
70,
covered
80,
now?
like
Actually,
that.
what now is covered is 240. Can you flash that table, which is very useful? You had no one table. Yeah. If you look at state public universities are 451, which will benefit. And they will not be spending money from state government funds.
And another almost 5,000 colleges are there, state central put together. So that college number is also huge.
212?
Yeah.
Sir, this is Joe from Malayalam Manorama newspaper. You mentioned that you are supporting for the publishing the articles also, the APCs. So what are the criteria for selecting the articles?
So this amount which we have put aside, we are making the guidelines for that, because this amount is not that it will satisfy everyone who wants to do that. We will have a criteria of the journals which are of very high quality, and then we'll evolve a method in a transparent way, which will be transparent for this APC. It is in the process.
273?
Srishti Chaudhary from CNN News 18. I just wanted to understand, there was one slide which talked about how researchers will be facilitated if they want to get published in high quality journals. What amount has been set aside for that? How you're going to enable that?
150, you mean APC?
Yeah. Yes.
150 crores per year.
150. And how will that be facilitated?
That's
during
what
the
I
first-
just answered. The process is in getting evolved. How it will be utilized, and it will come out soon, but it will be pretty transparent.
104?
You mean it will be done by tomorrow? No, it will be done in next few days, possible. And we have to see that we make sure it is done properly, and that is what will happen.
So good afternoon. This is Sanjay Agarwal, sir, from World News. So I had three questions initially.
Sorry, from which place?
So
sorry?
World News 24/7. So I have two more questions added with the other, people. So the first thing is the minister had earlier last year he had talked about this thing coming up, right? And now, Ramya ma'am has mentioned about going globally, right? So my first question is, when will we have one world, one subscription? You said internationally the community is not, it's not working. They're not in coherence with India. Internationally,
Sorry.
I said we have this one nation. So
Yeah.
when are we going to have a one world, one subscription? Because as Banerjee sir also said,
I think a very interesting question. We are not taking the responsibility in this press conference to say that it will be done by such and such days, one world, one subscription. No.
47 तक कर लेंगे तो ठीक हो जाएगा.
Good. That's your slow this thing. We
So my
don't-
second thing is, if ma'am can show the slide, ma'am. Can you bring the slide, the last fourth slide, ma'am, where you have those publishers.
No,
Before
that's
this, one
table.
before,
Table.
One before.
Yeah.
No, one before, ma'am.
Go
The
back.
fifth
Table.
slide in the last, if you go from the back side. Can I open my mobile and tell you?
No. It is there. You mean the number of
The
institutions?
number of, yeah, before, yeah, this one. Come back. It's share journals, the 5 major ones, the papers which are being published, right, sir? So these papers are just.
No, these are publisher data, not papers.
No, this is journals, papers, right, sir?
Correct.
Divided. So if you go to
Articles.
the first one, the American Mathematical Society, so we have this bar free. So that's the maximum, but they just have 9 journals, the first one, sir. And then the maximum is about 2438, Springer. So Springer is hardly giving anything free. So why are we not able to bring, negotiating on the table, bring them and American?
No. What is? Why are we not?
If I understand your question, you are asking why we have not negotiated with publishers for the openly available articles also.
Sorry. Let me understand. Let me just see if I understood you right. Open access articles are available. There is no payment needed. Payment is needed to publish in them. That is what you call APC. The author is paying. So, but for reading there is no charge. So, all the journals now in this chart will be available for reading free of cost, without paying in within our ONOS. Does it answer?
So, as he said, from Economic Times, a research fellow. Suppose we have a research fellow. Now he's doing his doctorate, right, sir? So research fellow, Mr. Karantkar answered, he has to have a patent. So what I'm saying is, suppose he's accessing these journals, can he download them?
Yes.
And
yes.
Would he be having to give credit
No.
if he's publishing?
No.
In case of any publication, if you see a paper, at the end there are references. So whatever is being used, people put it. No, that credit automatically goes.
That
It
is
a standard
a
practice.
norm. There is nothing changed because of this subscription model. And they don't have to thank Government of India
Right,
for
sir.
making it available.
Right. And my last question was,
If they do, will be happy.
But there is no such
question was,
thing.
how do you
26, please.
नमस्कार, आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई सर. मैं केवल एक बात कहना चाहूँगी सर. मैं ये समझ पा रही हूँ अभी तक कुछ भ्रांतियां हैं, कुछ विसंगतियां हैं इसकी, और ये जितना सिंपल कर लेंगे इसको, थोड़ा सा जानने की बात है, इसको सिंपल कर लीजिए, क्योंकि तकलीफ ये है यदि इसको लोकप्रिय बनाना चाहते हैं इसका सरलीकरण कर लीजिए. जब मोदी गवर्नमेंट जो है इजी डूइंग पर काम कर रही है तो कुछ इजी डूइंग पर कार्य करिए ताकि लोग स्पष्ट हो जाए, इतने प्रश्न ही ना आए. कॉम्प्लिकेशन है कहीं ना कहीं, इतने प्रश्न इसलिए आ रहे हैं. ये इसकी स्पष्ट परिचायक है इस बात का, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं विसंगतियां हैं, भ्रांतियां हैं. जिसकी वजह से इतना स्पष्टीकरण मांगा जा रहा है। मैं इन प्रश्नों के माध्यम से ये जान पाई। हो सकता है ये मैसेज देना चाह रहे हैं सभी लोग। आप लोग इसको थोड़ा सा इस पर वर्कआउट करा के थोड़ा इसको इजी बना दीजिए सर। मेरा कहने का ये तात्पर्य है सर।
नहीं,
छोटा सा प्रश्न है।
नहीं, ये एकदम सरलीकरण का ही प्रयास है, जिसमें जैसा कि प्रेजेंटेशन में बताया गया,
कॉन्फिडेंस की लैकिंग लग रही है सर मुझे। पूरे प्रेजेंटेशन
नहीं, कोई कॉन्फिडेंस की कमी नहीं है। 13,000 जर्नल 6,000 इंस्टीट्यूशंस के 1.8 लाख करोड़ छात्रों को फिंगर टिप के माध्यम से उनके मोबाइल फोन पर या उनके कंप्यूटर पर अब उपलब्ध रहेंगे। आप इतिहास के छात्र हैं, लेकिन आप मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग के जर्नल पढ़ सकते हैं। आप मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग के छात्र हैं, आप भूगोल के जर्नल पढ़ सकते हैं। एकदम सरलीकरण है ये। इससे अधिक सरलीकरण मुझे पता नहीं किस तरीके से।
नहीं, अच्छी बात है अगर तो ये उतना ही लोकप्रिय हो जाएगा। मैं ये कह रही हूँ यदि आप और इसको सरलता की और जाएंगे। इजी डूइंग पर काम कर रही है ना मोदी गवर्नमेंट, तो मैं आपसे यही अपेक्षा रखती हूँ कि ये सबसे लोकप्रिय हो जाए। इजी होगी तो और लोकप्रिय हो जाएगी।
तो भ्रांतियां मेरे हिसाब से इस प्लेटफॉर्म के संबंधित है ही नहीं, और इसीलिए मैंने जोर देकर कहा
जी
कि यह प्लेटफॉर्म सरलीकरण का प्रयास है। उसके अलावा आप कुछ अलग करना चाहते हैं, जैसे एपीसी की बात आई या और जर्नल्स की बात आई या बुक्स की बात आई, वो आप करिए, उनको इसमें मिक्स न कीजिए और उसको क्लिष्ट न बनाइए। ये एकदम सरलीकरण है, जिसमें आपको 13,000 जर्नल 6,000 कॉलेजेस और यूनिवर्सिटी के 1.8 करोड़ छात्रों को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर उपलब्ध रहेंगे। उसके अलावा आप यदि कुछ अलग करना चाहते हैं, भारतीय जर्नल का विकास करना चाहते हैं, भारतीय जर्नल में पब्लिश करना चाहते हैं, पेटेंट करना चाहते हैं, दूसरी भाषाओं में करना चाहते हैं, सबको सब कुछ फ्री अवेलेबल कराना चाहते हैं, वो सभी ऑप्शंस आपके पास उपलब्ध हैं।
आपके प्रयासों की प्रशंसा करते हैं, सराहनीय है।
Thank you.
और सराहनीय हो
271,
जाएंगे सर।
please.
थैंक यू सो मच।
271. This will be the last question, please. Sir.
Okay, so coming back to my first question, because it went unanswered, my simple question was that when MOS was Subhash Sarkar in 2023, he said that the rate for the ONOs will be 3,000 crore in the first phase. Now that has jumped to 6,000 crore, while your strike rate for journals is 30 out of 70, because you started with brokering it with 70 journals, right? And now it's 30. So why is that so? And the second question
no,
is
I
the
think,
private.
I guess there is some misunderstanding. In 2023, 3,000 crore, if you are quoting, that was the present figure at that time for 2,000 institutes, not for 6,000 institutes. Please go back and check. There is no statement that with enhanced availability, the cost will remain the same. It's an impossible question when you are asking.
But what about those 40 journals? Why wasn't...
Which 40 journals? See this, please, again, let me repeat at the risk of repeating. These 30 publishers cover more than 95% of the publications in the world. 5%, if when they are not covered, that is the other 40 publishers which you know. For that, we are not able to negotiate because the numbers are too small.
Sir, if I may just add here, sir, that 70 list of publishers, most of them were providers of databases, be it aggregator or citation databases. Standards were also included there. So initially when we started with the negotiations, the price quoted by all of these publishers was very, very high. And now we have come down to negotiating only with the full text journal providers, which are 36 publishers who we called in for the final round of negotiations, out of which 30 publishers have agreed to the terms of ONOS.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. Thank you, sir.
Professor Sood, can I just make
Yeah.
मैं कई बार ये आप जो सवाल पूछ रहे हैं तो उसका मैं जवाब दे। कई बार कोई चीज बहुत सरल सामने आ जाए तो अविश्वास होता है कि कैसे हो गया, तो उसमें ये घबराहट होती है कि भी हाउ कैन यू मैनेज दिस विद सच। ये अब मैं अभूतपूर्व तो नहीं कहूँगा, ये वाकई सरलीकरण है। मेरे कोलीग ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा a click of a mouse. I'm just repeating at the expense of being crude here, that very large number of people, researchers, students will access, which hitherto they did not have access to it, number one. But even more important, that it is not just a bunch of journals that will be available from journal. That took us the longest time to negotiate. We kept insisting that Elsevier or Springer or John Wiley or whoever must make accessible everything that they publish in journals. And that was a sticky point. That's why it took so as long as it did. So if you digest all that, and I think most of you have already digested, it's a huge step forward. सीधा लगता है, इसलिए लगता है इसमें कुछ पेचीदा जरूर होगा, है कुछ नहीं इसमें पेचीदा. No, तो उसके लिए पल्लव this is not off the record. This is on record. We could only negotiate for 3 years because then the cycle of budget finishes.
Why startups are suffering? I didn't get. No, if the startups. No. Let me just answer this question differently. As you know that in this budget, the government has already announced a plan of setting up a 1 lakh crore R&D fund for investing in the private sector R&D, which will include the startups. So startups will be the direct beneficiaries. Number one. Number two, if the startups are incubated in the institutions, in the universities, IITs, and they are the authenticated users of that institutions, they will have access to that.
I'm sure we will get. I think on the behalf of Professor Sood, I can take that liberty. Let's see.
So it is academic and R&D institutions.
It's a nice
my slide.
We will look into it. Thank you so much. Thank you. We will look into it. Our request to Professor Sood. Thank you, sir.
On
Thank you so
payment
much,
basis.
I think it's lunchtime. Let's go for lunch. Thank you so much. Thank you.